Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. This is the recording of my very first live episode, which happened last Friday at the iconic El Macombo here in Toronto. My guests for my live recording were the Canadian comedy idols themselves, Colin Mochrie and Deb McGrath. Oh my goodness, this was an incredible interview. I had in my audience, I invited every single person who's ever been on my podcast before and people whose episodes haven't aired yet, but we've recorded. Some of my family were in the audience, a bunch of my doctor friends. People flew in from Phoenix, Vancouver, Florida, Kansas. There was a van that drove down up north filled with my improv friends. Absolutely incredible show. I am still so overwhelmed a week later with how much support I got, how much incredible feedback there was. And oh my gosh, the conversation I had with Colin and Deb is absolutely, it's iconic. It's so motivational. It's so inspiring. Their stories are fantastic. You will hear the entire show. So we start out with the incredible, legendary Al Val comedy herself. She was my mistress of ceremonies. She also introduces Joseph, who is a member of the Get Real movement. Now, the Get Real movement is an incredible LGBTQ2+ nonprofit here in Canada, dedicated to increasing education resources for inclusivity in healthcare spaces and in schools. They were my charitable foundation that I was supporting for this live show. And honestly, my entire podcast monies that I bring in, which, isn't much, but, this is a passion project. Every amount of money that I bring in goes towards this incredible nonprofit. And I don't have the official numbers yet, but as of right now, we are over $5,000 raised for my live show last Friday. Oh my goodness. I think I realized over the last week that this show meant more to me than just interviewing my comedy idols, Colin Mochrie and Deb McGrath. Seeing everybody in the audience, seeing people in real life that I'd never met before, especially past and future guests who I'd only met over Riverside, over Zoom, chatting with them, finally getting to meet them in real life and having conversations with them, especially those of you who flew in from out of town, was something I wish I could bottle this feeling, and whenever I'm feeling sad or down in the dumps, just inhale it. What an absolute treat and joy it was last week. I'm so excited for you to hear this entire show. Please enjoy Al Val Comedy, Deb McGrath, and Colin Mochrie.
Super excited. What a show we have tonight, huh? We're going to go live. We're going to talk to some Canadian comedy legends. All for a good cause. I am very pumped. How many people from out of town came to do this? Wow. All of you. That's nuts. Well, thanks for coming. Before we get the show started, though, I am going to bring up the representative for the Get Real movement, who are sponsoring tonight's show. Joseph, everybody!
Thank you so much. Yeah, super excited to be here with y'all tonight. My name is Joseph Enriquez, he, him. I am the workshop and education coordinator at the Get Real movement. Just wanted to first and foremost extend a very big thank you to Janet for making us tonight's charitable beneficiary. For anybody that doesn't know, the Get Real movement is a national nonprofit whose mission is to combat 2S LGBTQ+ discrimination, bullying, and racism in schools, summer camps, and workplaces all across Canada. And we really accomplished that. Yeah, exactly. And we accomplish that through two main areas of focus, the first being education. So we offer anti-Black racism, inclusivity, and Trans 101 workshops to students, caregivers, and workplaces. And we also offer online and in-person resources as well. The other area of focus is our youth support and leadership development. So we have after-school programs, university chapters. We also do summits and conferences, as well as our virtual counseling program too. So Janet was actually one of the actors who appeared in our educational resource, The Clinic, which is a short film highlighting the need for more inclusive healthcare in Canada. It's a short film that we put together at the Get Real movement. And it also provided tips for medical professionals who are seeking to make their practice more inclusive. As somebody who's part of the trans community, resources like that are so important and really go hand in hand with the work that we do in schools. The feedback that we receive from students is overwhelmingly positive. Students within the community who have really gained a better sense of confidence in themselves. Students who are allies outside of the community that have learned to support the people around them that come out to them. And on both sides, this education really helps to dispel myths and misinformation that is all too rampant, especially online these days, to really get to a better place of understanding and support. So, as a nonprofit, fundraising to keep up with the demand of our programming is a constant challenge. So events like these are so appreciated and so important. But yeah, if you want to learn more about the Get Real movement, the work that we do, please do not hesitate to come up to me or Nico. We're just at a table there on the side. Just come say hi if you want to learn any more information about us. But again, just wanted to say very big thank you, everyone.
One more time for Joseph, everybody! I love the cause. Feels very relevant to me, you know? How appropriate that they got the loudest, most obnoxious trans bitch in Toronto to host this thing. I love it! Yay, allies! I love a room full of allies. You're adorable. I love you people. You're out in public. It's nice, you know. I mean, tone it down in public. That's my one piece of advice. If I get one more yes queen while I'm picking a wedgie in the park, I'm detransitioning. I'm doing it out of spite. Everyone wants to be so, yeah, work, slay. I don't work, I don't slay. Brave, I get brave all the time. Being called brave in public isn't the compliment some of you think it is. Especially when I'm trying to keep a low profile, mind my own business, have a breakfast sandwich at Tim Hortons, not have my spot blown up, and some lady comes in and she's sweating and crying. She's like, I saw you from outside. I saw you through the window and I was just so overcome with emotion. I just had to say something. I just wanted to let you know that you are so brave. And I'm like, the food here isn't that bad. 3 claps from over there. No, you missed your chance. Allies, that's true allyship right there. 4 claps for a Tim Hortons joke. That's what I'm looking for. It's better than the alternative. Joseph was talking about, the misinformation that gets spread online. Being a comedian and a very public-facing trans person, I catch a lot of shit, a lot of hate online, and over time it gets easier and easier to handle. But I found especially a lot of joy in when people try and target something that I couldn't give less a shit about, and it becomes funny to me again. That's my favorite. Like, I'll get this one all the time. This is a common one I get. Somebody will be like, when you die, when you're dead, like 600 years after that, when they dig up your bones, they're gonna be like, that's a man's bones. And the first time I read that, I was like, who would fucking care? Who is that insecure that they lay awake at night just like, I hope my bones are fuckable to a necrophiliac paleontologist from the future? Does this guy really think that in my lowest moments, when I'm at home and my dysphoria is at its worst and I just hate how things turned out, I'm just looking at myself in the mirror with the curtains drawn, just like, my bones! change my bones. More importantly, what does that say about what this guy thinks those scientists are like? That's what I wonder. Does he think it's just a bunch of broy dudes digging up bones, angry all day, like, oh, fuck, another dude, this sucks! This is the 5th dude today! None of these skeletons have tits! What am I supposed to honk? 7 years at Western U for nothing, bro! I get this one a lot. This is my new favorite. I love this one. Somebody will be like, you'll never have a period. Yeah, good. Good. I've never heard an endorsement for a period in my life. The only people who have ever wished for their period are 2 weeks late for it. I got another 4 claps from my one ally. I told you that's all I was going for tonight, and I got it. Yes. Are you guys ready to start the show? Awesome. I am so excited to bring up your host. You know her, you love her. I met her at an acting class of all places earlier this year, and I was just so charmed and stunned by her and inspired by her. She is so awesome, and I love her so dearly. Give it up for your host, Janet McMorty!
Incredible. I am glad I have waterproof mascara on. Thank you, Sam, my makeup artist. So I'm Dr. Janet McMorty, and I host Second Act Actors. This is a podcast I started during the pandemic, a little passion project, because I started meeting more and more people who were like me, starting with Improv Level 1 online at the Second City. Where are my Improv Level 1 Second City people here who flew in? I kept meeting people who were not actors from the get-go, who were taking acting classes and improv classes. They started with a job, they started with a career and said, I want a second act. I want to do something completely different, something more creative, something more whimsical and soul-fulfilling. And so I started meeting more and more people, and I wanted to share their stories with everybody. So that's how my podcast got started. And we just did 100 episodes have been released. And so this is a celebration of that. And I so appreciate you all being here. You are all some of my biggest supporters, people from acting classes, people who've been on the show before, volunteered your time to be on my crazy passion project. I so appreciate it. And I want to give a special shout out to my dad, who is in the audience today. He flew in from Vancouver, and there's a lot of chatter on the podcast about people who were influencers early on in our lives, who said, maybe you should do a more logical career path. Like, you're a really cute theatrical child, but that's not a logical career path. And even though I went the logical career path, I went to the most logical place, doctor, I never heard that from my parents. I never heard, no, you shouldn't do that whimsy, you shouldn't do that creativity. In fact, just yesterday, my dad and I were talking about how what he wants from his 2 daughters more than anything is confidence. Feeling confident in who we are, in ourselves, and thanks, Dad. Oh, now I'm sorry I made you emotional. I'm getting emotional. Thanks, Dad. All right, now I'm going to bring out my special guests tonight. They are Canadian comedy legends. First off, we have Deb McGrath, Second City alumni. She did a sketch of Marilyn Monroe that goes down in history as one of the funniest things I've ever seen. You know her from Little Mosque on the Prairie. She's been nominated for multiple Writers Guild Awards. She is absolutely hilarious. Deb McGrath, want to come on down? Who else saw her dancing during COVID? I know I did. All right, and my second guest tonight is, you're the better half, let's be honest. Colin Mochrie, you know him from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And if you're from a generation I've learned significantly younger than mine, you go, that's the guy from the meme. The Who's Awesome? You Are meme. Colin Mochrie! I'm so thrilled to be speaking with you both. It's such an absolute honor. I would love to start with both of your stories. I would love to hear how you got into this crazy business, into this entertainment industry.
Me?
Yeah, why not?
I was just a ham bone from the get-go. Dancing, singing, doing shows in my garage and rec room. And I thought I would be a musical comedy. That was my dream. And then Second City happened. I was working right across the street from the old fire hall where Second City started in Toronto, and at a place called Mr. Green Jeans. And the dear, late, great Tony Rosado, I don't know if any of you know Tony, he was my regular customer, and it wasn't a, dating kind of thing. He thought I was funny, and he said, you're serving. I said, yeah, I'm an actor. I went to, what's the name of Ryerson now? TMU. I went to TMU. God, they could have picked a better name. Anyway, and so he got me an application for the classes, sat at the back when I auditioned. He really made me go. What can I tell you? I was too nervous. So I started at Second City and did, I guess, 5-6 years there. And then, went on to television and that kind of thing. But at Second City, I blew my voice out twice. So I had nodes and then polyps. And so to sing without a microphone wasn't going to happen. Little did I know that musical comedy would become everyone wearing that and being able to do it anyway. But and so I loved it, got into it, did a lot of stuff, a lot of television. And then our daughter was born, and I just kind of wanted to do that. But I had a great career in voice and animation. So I did that, but I stepped back from anything that would take me away from her. And this one started to be successful. So his career, you can imagine my parents were so happy and proud when I married an improviser. Oh dear God, that wasn't even a job. And
So true.
And
So
true. And then and it happened, and his career gave me the opportunity to do both things I wanted to do, and to be the class parent and do all that's what I wanted. I wanted to do that. And then she got old enough, and I went back, and that's my story of how I started in the business.
Yeah, mine was the same. I was in school in Vancouver. I was a honor student, and my plan...
Valedictorian.
And thank you. I my plan was to be a marine biologist. I was a very shy child, and I was a bookworm. I would go to the Vancouver Library every week, take out 7 books, read them all, and a friend of mine, Roland Rossman, dared me to try out for the school play. So I did, and I got it, and I got my first laugh, and that moment I actually will never forget, because it was that I felt a change there. I thought, no, forget about learning. This is what I want to do. So I went into theater, went to Studio 58 there, where after my first year, the head of the program said, "You're very good at low comedy." I took it as a compliment. I'm not sure he was giving it as one. And then my last year there, I saw a demonstration of a thing called theater sports, which was started by an Englishman who was living in Calgary. It was improv in a theater, in a sports, and Keith Johnstone had started it. So I thought, oh, this looks like fun. So I started doing that. We were at City Stage, which was right beside a McDonald's, and Ray Michael, who ran the theater, said you can have, after our show, you can have the sort of 11 to 1 slot. And so we would run into McDonald's and go, "Hey, come see our show." And they say, "What's it about?" We go, "We don't know. You have to yell things at us, and then we'll make it up." And then within a year, it was around the block lineup, and it became this big cult thing. And then I moved to my friend Ryan Stiles was doing Second City for Expo, and he had moved out there, and I moved out a little bit afterwards. He called me and said, "Hey, they're looking for someone in the touring company. I told them about you. Why don't you audition?" So I did, and this was the person auditioning me. And there was this whole thing about picking up after yourself and washing dishes that I didn't quite understand what it had to do with the process. But yes, it was all above board until it wasn't. And then we moved. Deb had, with her writing partner, Linda Cash, had written this series that got picked up by Imagine Television. So we moved down to LA. And this part, there's a whole long story. And Deb was 7 months pregnant when we moved down there, gave birth, went back to work 10 days later. She was producing, acting, big writing. Yeah, and I couldn't work. I didn't have paper, so I was looking after our daughter, which was great. And then I got a Who's line. She was 2 months old. I just filmed my last one, and she just turned 33. So it's been a good, steady job. I will never underplay how important that show was to my life. I mean, obviously, no one really knew what improv was really before that show. Or, I mean, people knew, but not in the mainstream. And that show gave us all a career. Otherwise, I certainly wouldn't be here. I'd probably still be married to you. But your mother would not love me as much as she does.
No, she would not.
No. So I've been very fortunate in my life in pretty much every area. I've been very lucky. The fact that Whose Line came along, showcased the one thing I can do, gave me a career. The fact that this woman hired me and then seduced me in a canoe.
True story.
And that's worked out also. I mean, we'll be 35 years.
35 years. January 8th.
Yeah. So, and I think also improvising leaked into our life. We decided, we're going to use the rules of improv in our life. We're going to start saying yes to things that may be a little outside of our comfort zone and see where it takes us. Our very first test, we were asked to go to the Congo.
And it was like, what? We just said we were going to say yes to things.
So we went to it was with World Vision to sort of spotlight kids who needed sponsorship, and it became one of the best things we ever did in our life. It was amazing. We were in the jungle with people who were living in abject poverty, but still had this amazing spark. Deb was doing the hokey pokey with all the kids by the river. It was just an amazing trip. And so since then, we've really tried to make that a big part of our life.
Yeah.
That answer was way too long. I'm sorry. You can cut this, right?
No. Oh, we're live.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Huh.
I want to touch on your advocacy work in a bit, but I'd love to go back to, again, as I mentioned in my intro, about choosing a career of whimsy and creativity is not one that a lot of people would say that's a good choice. That's not a logical career choice. Go be a marine biologist. Did either, I don't know. In my mind, when I wanted to be a marine biologist, it really was dolphin trainer. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I wanted to work at the aquarium. But was that ever something that was told to you? Did you ever feel that from anyone saying, or did anyone ever say to you, maybe you should consider a more logical career path? Because a career in the arts is tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, no one said it to me. My parents were really supportive. They thought I was all that. And my dad was very funny. He was a chartered accountant, but he was an ACTRA member. And
Chartered accountant got a move.
he was an ACTRA member, did a lot of small parts. He did a lot of commercials. My mom was a singer, and they thought it was great. And I don't know, when you're young, you don't worry about how much money you're going to make. You're so obsessed with the doing of it. And our daughter at one point asked us, because since she was little, we just take her to theater. And we were at Stratford, or Shaw, I think. And she said, so how do you live if you are an actor in the theater? And I said, well, it depends. But if you're a young actor and you're playing smaller roles, you have an apartment and the posters from your show or your art, and you're thrilled, and you're doing what you love to do. And that's how I felt, and that's what we told her.
Yeah, most of the people who were against me were the people who were hiring. My parents were very typical Scottish parents, but my father always said, "If you love it, do it."
Tell the newspaper story, please.
Oh, my father would come to shows I was in. He would always bring a newspaper in case it got boring. So there'd be times they'd be doing the show and you hear, Russell. We've lost him. And my mother, she would send me Matchbox covers that say, "So you want to be a lawyer" on them. And it wasn't till I was on Hollywood Squares that she kind of accepted it.
It's like, oh, you've made it now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
she would tell him random things like, who did she want you to ask for to hire you?
Oh, yeah. She would call up and go, "I was watching Kathy Lee and Regis. Barbara Mandrell was on. She seems lovely. Why don't you call her?" And I went,
Dead serious.
I went, "Barbara Mandrell, the country singer?" And she went, "Yeah, she seems very nice." And I said, "Well, I'll look in my celebrity Rolodex." But yeah, so there was always someone that she would call up, and she still does it every once in a while. Like, "Why aren't you on?" I think she did. "Why weren't you on Friends?" It's like, so many reasons, Mom, but.
He was headlining in Vegas years ago with Drew and Ryan, and they had their pictures up on the giant, iconic Caesar's Palace. And Isabel, his mom, said, "Oh, so you're in Vegas. Is anybody going to see it?" And he said, Well, yeah, Mum, it's Vegas. So it's now going to be on the television? And Colin said, no. Oh, well, then maybe someone will see you and give you a job.
I just realized my career was built on revenge.
It's funny, when you were saying that, I immediately think about how many of us who are actors have well-intentioned people going, you know what you should be on? The Netflix. You should be on Netflix.
Yeah.
You should just get on that. You're like, yes, I should. Are they hiring? Like I would love to be on the Netflix. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, people don't really understand. They think every actor is rich and every... and it's the easiest job in the world, and sometimes it is, but not often. It is a lot of... It's like people who say, well, modeling must be easy. And that is... Not that I've ever modeled, but I have seen... that is grueling work. So...
Well, and with that being said, would you have any advice for anyone who either is an aspiring actor, an aspiring creative, or maybe just somebody who's thinking about, well, this may be the second part of my life and I want to switch into a second act?
I actually was speaking to a lovely pair of people tonight, and I said it's so funny when we get to a certain age and someone says, oh, you're so brave to do that, as our lovely hostess was talking about earlier. And I think it's funny when people talk about it being brave, because the example I was using, if you're a visual artist and you're at a market and you've got your wares out, you don't feel brave that people are coming up to look at what you've got to sell. So if you know that you've got something in you, that you are talented, and you've got something to offer, you're giving them a gift. It's not brave at all. So go for it.
I remember talking to some visual artists about that, and I think acting is so interesting because there isn't a where. You are the where, right? Yeah. It's not like I'm a table maker, here is the table that I made. Yeah. If somebody says, I hate your table, you can say, that's fine, you hate the table, but you don't hate me. But acting, if somebody says, I hate your acting, you're like, huh, that is my soul that I've literally laid out in front of you. I feel like would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Colin has a theory about people. Would you like to share it?
People are idiots. Thank you. Allies!
Yeah, I mean, screw you with your... It's terrible what people say. But you've just got to stop listening to your inner voice. What?
No, I was thinking about the lunch we had when you were bought.
Oh, jeez. You know, Colin and I, we just had one a couple of weeks ago where you're auctioned off. Gilda's Club, the wonderful Gilda's Club. Yeah. And we love them. We would do anything for them.
And usually the people are lovely.
Yeah. These people we had lunch with last week, just wonderful. But we went to one. I don't know if anyone knows who Neil Crone is. He's a wonderful actor. He was my brother's best friend. I was his older sister's friend. We went to high school together at the soon-to-be renamed Sir Johnny MacDonald. And we went to this lunch, and the woman who purchased us was with two other people, and they were lovely, asking about things. She was all over Colin and how wonderful he is, and as she should be. We expected that. We knew that at this lunch we were the Professor and Marianne, and when they were, and the rest. So she's talking away to him, and then she turns to us, like, and you think, what's happening right now? She turns to us and said, well, and you three, the great Sheila McCarthy was with us as well, and she says, you three, well, sometimes I can't believe it happened. She said, well, I thought to prepare for this lunch, I'd watch Little Mosque on the Prairie. And I have to say to you, and did this, P-U. And then she went, P P-U. Like that you have to repeat the P-U. That we didn't get the P-U to begin with. What was that? We were confused by you holding your nose. And we just didn't know what to say. Because as my friend always says, because we are stunned by rudeness. People, why didn't I say that? Because you are stunned.
Yeah.
And she just turned away. We hung out in the parking lot for an hour after that, laughing so hard. And now whenever Sheila and I are at something together, I went to her premiere of a Women Talking in New York with her, and then someone will say something, we'll just say P-U, 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 P-U. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so you have to go, you either have to let it go or you've got to come back with a great comeback line. And I decided a few years ago, because I'm obsessed with Christmas and I'm obsessed with White Christmas. And Bing Crosby...
The movie, she's not a racist.
And the proof of that is I didn't even think of that. And there's a moment where Rosemary Clooney says something awful to Bing. And Bing goes, well, that's quite a remark. And so I thought, that's going to be my thing. When somebody says, gee, you've aged. Well, that's quite a remark. But I don't, because I'm stunned by rudeness.
Yeah. Laura Hall, who plays the music on Whose Line, she had a next-door neighbor who came over and said, hey, finally saw your show. She went, oh, what'd you think? Just 4 assholes playing charades. Sometimes it's hard to argue.
And it's funny, like from his POV. I love that story. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, so we're giving advice.
I gave mine.
Do it. It's great. It's rewarding.
Mine.
Yeah. My thing always is, if this is something that you can't see yourself not doing, if it's something that you love so much you have to do it, then you have to do it. There's no reason not to. I mean, there's plenty of reasons not to, but there's just as many reasons you should. And why not go with the positive and see what happens? It's so easy to get bogged down by the negativity. And people, it's always easy for people to tell you why you can't do something. It always seems harder for them to say the reasons you can, even though a lot of times it's actually easier to do it. And you see exactly what the landscape is and where you fit in, whether this is exactly what you do want. So do it.
And don't have a backup plan. Don't have a backup plan.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
My logical brain hates that. But you know what's interesting about, and I think for me, having a career in medicine, being a very science, logical-brained person, the greatest thing for me to get out of that, because it's not healthy to be that all the time. And I think when you're in a career path like medicine, like law, like a lot of things that demand tunnel vision focused on the goal, it's really hard to remember that you loved the creative part of your life. And what was so great for me was improv, because that is completely illogical. You can't plan. There are a little bit of rules, but there really aren't any rules. You can't memorize anything.
Thank
you just
God.
have to think. For me, I love that. I love the memorizing, but it was terrifying, but so freeing. And I would love to hear more about your thoughts on improv, especially for actors and aspiring creatives or people kind of stuck in that logical-brained mind. But first, I need to shout out the old dance hall players. My improv troupe that I perform with, who came all the way from Aurelia. And my 2 Second City classmates who are also here, who flew in from the States, which is really
lovely.
exciting. But I think what is really interesting about improv is you really have to, like you were saying, Colin, you just have to get out there and do it. You just get thrown up on stage and whatever happens, happens. And that's terrifying and freeing at the same time. What was improv for you both? I know obviously pivotal in both your incredible careers, but what does improv feel like for you?
It feels like you're a kid doing a show in your garage and you have no one judging you. It feels when Colin and I do a lot of shows together. And it's nice for me because I trust him so much. Also, if the audience has made suggestions, and let's be honest, I can't remember what they've said. I think we all know that. I haven't got a clue. And at the moment, I'm looking right at them. Yeah, good, gone. So I know he'll save me in those things. But it just feels like old you. Old, uncritical, I can't explain it further. You just don't have an inner critic in your head. And you're just going. But you're also weaving something. You're listening. We live in a world where never before has there been so little listening to each other. And when you're improvising, you've got to listen. It's all about listening and building. That feels fantastic. It just feels fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's being childlike in a mature way. Because I found out recently, mirrors lie. So it really is, whatever problems I have during the day, whatever physical ailments I have, when I'm out there, I'm doing things that I know I'm going to pay for later. But it really is freeing. And improv certainly helped me come out of my shell. Because of the success of Whose Line. The guy on Whose Line, Deb always called the other, because it wasn't me in a way. I mean, obviously it was, but it was a incredibly exaggerated version of me. But because of that, I had to learn to sort of come out of myself and be able to talk during interviews and talk to fans. So it really opened up that part of my life, because I was never very good at small talk or talking to people or feeling comfortable with people. I only felt comfortable with people if I was on a stage in front of them with no script, which is weird. But through improv, as Deb was saying, people always say, how can you improvise? It's so difficult. And it truly isn't. We have to do the things we don't do in life, and we're supposed to. It's listening, it's working with your partners, it's building them up, it's having fun, it's exploring all the different avenues you can go down. And sometimes you fail, and you embrace that failure, because that teaches you something that hopefully you won't do next time, or you may do it again next time, and you'll fail again. But it really, I think, taught us not to be consumed about failing and just putting yourself out there.
And when you go out on stage, the best improvising is when you go out and your partner goes out and your goal is to set the other person up. Make the other person look fabulous. You are not intending to be funny. You are not intending to own the scene. But if you both go out with that objective, it's magical. And it's something you can do at any age. We have a friend who is a wonderful improviser and a wonderful improv teacher, Kate, and she teaches so many different people, seniors, folks who are dealing with serious illness. And her classes are everyone just says they're magical, because there's no expectation, just improvise.
It's a great. I do a show with a hypnotist where he hypnotizes people, and then I improvise with them, and it's been fascinating to work
Coming
with
to
people.
Toronto this spring.
That's right.
Mervish.
Improv.
Mervish has it.
It's fascinating to watch people in a trance who I've never worked with before come up with the most amazing offers because they're not thinking. They're reacting to everything I say or the hypnotist says. And every night we find a superstar. We had this one young lady who was amazing, and afterwards I was talking to her, and she said, I have like social anxiety. It's crippling. I don't know why I went up, but that was the best hour I've ever had in my life. And she was going to go out and look for improv classes and hopefully join an improv troupe. And it really is, once you get out of your head, this is so rambly. I had to improvise in an MRI for an hour and a half because this doctor was doing a study on what happens to the brain when you improvise.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. And what happens is the part of the brain that deals with self-criticism, the activity disappears and creativity starts to build. And the same thing happens when you're hypnotized. When you're hypnotized, that part of your brain that embarrasses you is gone.
And didn't he also do a jazz musician?
Jazz and a visual artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Fascinating.
the benefits of improv, and not only creatively and for entertaining, science is starting to use improv in businesses. It really is great to be able to just think outside the box and go into a direction that maybe you hadn't thought of before. And it may, again, lead to nothing, but it may lead to something. So why not?
And I think we're seeing that kind of intersection or intertwining of arts and science. I don't know about you all, seeing it a lot more, at least I know in my medical world, there is a lot more of that, of people saying, oh, maybe if the fact that we've tunnel visioned all the scientists into medicine, maybe we should branch out and start teaching them creativity again. And you always see these improv classes for medical professionals. That was at the beginning of the pandemic. They did improv classes for all the frontline workers. And, because there's such a benefit to releasing that part of your brain that I think has been like exactly what you were saying, not just shut down from it's been shut down, but literally in an MRI, they showed that it was and could be reignited again. Yeah. That's so exciting. That's really going to make my brain tingle.
One of my favorite scenes in Apollo 13 is when they come in with all the different props, I call them, and say, here, they have to get back to Earth, use this.
Yes.
And they have to, and that's exactly what should be happening with science.
That's one of our McMorty family mottos is work the problem. Yes, Apollo 13. Yeah, yes, Dad. Well, I would love to hear, speaking about, again, your improv careers, but any time, if you have any favorite, memorable, funny, scary on-set or on-stage stories.
Oh, you have the bear.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't.
Not the popular show on FX. This is an actual.
You don't have to tell it.
Yes, this was great. So I was doing a show called Androids. It was a children's show about these young people who are into science, and the lovely Jane Eastwood played their grandmother, and for one season I was her boy toy. So in this show, I go camping with the kids. We're canoeing, the canoe overturns, we get separated, then we come back together and we encounter a bear. And the show was teaching of things to do when you come across a bear, how to survive camping, blah, blah, blah. So the day of the shoot with the bear's in his trailer. And he had an extensive resume. He was
the bear.
He was the bear in The Bear, and he was a grizzly, I think. Giant head. So we're setting up the scene, and the trainer was there, and our actress safety person was going over what was happening. She was saying, so what's going on? He goes, well, there's this big rectangle with electrified strings. So if he touches it, he gets a mild shock and he'll go back in. And she goes, well, what happens if that doesn't work? He said, well, in 25 years, that's never happened. And she goes, yeah, but what happens if something, he said, it'll never happen. As God is my witness, I can't even believe we're talking about this. It's not, she said, but what? He said, it's not going to happen. So I'm there with the kids. We're with the kids. They go, action. The bear comes towards us. Then I hear the animal trainer go, oh, shit. So the bear got shocked, but instead of going backwards, he went forwards. And so he's out. So there's me and the 3 kids, and I'm standing there going, I can outrun 2 of them.
This is real life Jurassic Park.
It is. There was a lovely assistant PA there, and she immediately she got bigger, so I had to follow her because I'm the adult here. And the bear just kind of walked up towards us and then went into the woods. Then the trainers ran after him. Shooting was done for the day. Because all the parents were also in the video village just off to the side. And so nobody could say anything. It was just total silence except for the heavy footprints of this bear. And the kids were traumatized. The director was traumatized. The parents were traumatized. I was throwing out some bits. They weren't going for it. So that was it. But it turned out the bear was just, I think, kind of bored. He'd been kind of cooped up for a while. And it all worked out nicely. So it just became a good story rather than a tragic. Colin Mochrie outran 2 kids.
And with his knees.
Exactly.
We were
Not
surprised.
easy. Not easy. This show that Deb did when we were in L.A., you had quite an eclectic group of guest stars.
We did 65 episodes of this thing called My Talk Show. It was with Ron Howard's company, Imagine.
In 4 months.
In 4 months. And we had guests like from Little Richard. I was 9 months in it and 4 days pregnant doing a rap with Dr. Dre. And also that pregnant tapping with tap dancing with Peter Allen. And it turned out to be like the last month of his life. But I idolized Peter Allen. We had 1 million great guests, but oh my God almighty, the behavior on that show, it was certainly my first experience with Hollywood stuff. And we were just 2 little Canadians who, were excited about our child coming. People were throwing scripts across. Slamming their doors. But our favorite was the last day we were done. The show was done. And we were leaving. It was at Gulch, Gower Gulch Studios. And we were leaving to go back to our home. And we realized, like, just the turnover in Hollywood, right? But you don't think of that. Your show's been canceled. We were grateful, frankly. We were so done. But we were heading back, and it was like, oh, my God, we forgot her binky. So we had to go back for her favorite binky. And, of course, as you know, parents decide which one's their favorite binky. They don't decide. So Colin phones to tell them we're coming back, phones My Talk Show. As we left, we're saying goodbye to the My Talk Show switchboard. Phones, honest to God, 4 minutes later, good morning, Revenge of the Nerds. Honest to God, they must have been lurking in behind potted plants until we left, and now they're manning the phones and it's their show.
Yeah.
And we thought,
that's lovely.
That's Hollywood.
Well, speaking of your daughter, you are very involved in advocacy within the LGBTQ2 plus community. I would love to hear if you would like to share more about your work with that community, just given especially the charity that we're supporting.
Thank you. Yes, our beautiful daughter, who we adore beyond words. We always like to spread the good word about trans and about anyone in the queer community. We think they are the special people, and we will always we support something called Rainbow Camp. In fact, Colin did a show called LOL, Last One Laughing, and he won. And the folks at Rainbow Camp, but the folks at Rainbow Camp didn't know about the show and didn't know he was working for them. So they're watching it on air and found out that he had won $100,000 for the camp. So that was great. Yeah. But I'm getting into more advocacy work. I'm working with a wonderful person named Joe Vanicola, and they are such an advocate, and they and another woman named Emma Wakelin, who is in the political world. She's a trans woman, identifying she, her, and we have decided we are starting a situation where we're going to lobby the government to get trans facial surgeries covered, because so many trans folk, have esteem and dysphoria issues because, you look in the mirror. And I speak to trans parents who are struggling and who sometimes frustrate me, but I listen. I'm not an expert, but sometimes frustrate me when they say things like, but, I was hoping she'd have kids. Under my breath, I'm saying, it's not your life, it's not your life. But to them, I'm saying, talk about that more. Tell me a little bit of how you feel. But I do listen to people.
People are idiots.
Yes. And I'm a frequent caller to some of our political people.
No, like every couple of days.
And I will say things like, hi, it's Deb McGrath again. I give my address. But I'm extremely calm. And I say, first of all, I would like to tell, I don't want to divide us politically, but I'll say it. I would like to tell the Premier never to use the word indoctrination again. Stop it. Stop it. And I said, my husband and I, 1 million trans parents would love to come and tell you why it's important that these children have other people to speak to. Because as our daughter said to us, and we couldn't be closer to this kid, but she said, you've got to understand, because I was hurt, your friends knew, to tell the people that gave birth to you that you are not presenting as that person, and to break their hearts, or even though she thought we would trust and that we would support, which we did in a heartbeat. And I said, does the Premier know anything about the 519, say, or Trans Ontario? So I'm busy in the mornings, let's just say. There's a great thing. I just posted it on my story. And I don't really understand the story. I'm a boomer. What's the difference, I say to my daughter, between the story and the thing? She explains, I still don't know. But she'll say, I think that's good for your story. Is it? Is this good? Why is this good for my story? So I posted this great thing, Jon Stewart. Look up the latest thing he was saying about trans. He just is my idol. But yeah, I want to make a difference in that world. You were talking, where did she go? About allies, about the allies in the audience. But it's one thing to be an ally and support. I encourage allies to speak up and speak to your local politicians when you think something's going south. For women and queer people, they both need your principles. Over to you, dear.
Well, let me explain what Deb was talking about there.
Oh, well done.
No.
That's why I said for women. And
I mean, part of the deal of loving this woman is loving how upset she gets at the world. And she's passionate. She's always there for the underdog. She's always there for anyone who needs any kind of help. And it's inspiring. And it totally inspired our daughter, who is one of the most empathetic human beings I've ever met. So, again, lucky I've been a part of that. I also have a lot of shame in that when Kinley first came out, it was during I think it was around the Trump inauguration time. And it was, I don't know if you remember this, things were negative.
don't take us back there. Please don't take us back there.
There was a lot of negative stuff on social media, and I said, Kinley, I wanted to post about how your grandmothers, a 91-year-old at that point and an 87-year-old, just totally accepted this. Just totally accepted with love. And I just say I wish people of other generations could easily follow that. And she said, fine. So I posted it. Then I got an email from a trans man who runs a improv theater in London, England, and he said, I just wanted to congratulate you on how you're supporting your daughter and on your daughter. Can I just ask you, next time you're doing Whose Line, to keep an eye on all the homophobic and transphobic things that you do? And immediately I was covered in sweat, thinking of all the things that we had done over the years. And there's no way to excuse it except that it was done out of pure ignorance. We were going for a joke because we needed a laugh, and we didn't think, oh, I just disparaged an entire segment of society, and a segment of society that doesn't need us piling on them. So I said, absolutely, and I brought it up on Facebook, and then various improv troupes around the country, around the world, sort of chimed in, and we started talking about this is something we should watch about. Not only that, but I mean, I think things had gotten better for women, certainly from when I was there. I'm sure there's still some. Yeah, no, I'm talking about in the improv world.
In the improv. I thought you meant in the world.
No.
No,
I mean,
it's all fixed.
No, I was talking about
good now.
I know I said people are idiots, but I understand. So
it is better in the improv.
It's something that people have become more aware of, and it's become something that before improv shows, the improvisers get together and have a sort of a little meeting saying, this is what I feel comfortable doing. You can do this. This is what you can talk about me. I'm fine if you want to talk about my sexual preference or my gender. There was one woman who said, I don't want anyone to touch my breasts. You can slap them. And I thought,
true. This is true.
And I thought, I can't even think of how that would go. Where after doing, she said I could.
In fact, she brought it up.
Yeah. So it has been better, and I would hope that would, not that particular thing, but just the openness, and because I truly believe, obviously, all prejudice comes from ignorance, absolute ignorance, from not knowing, from just making assumptions, from being taught. So the more you can learn, the better chance you have just to, get this world closer to a Star Trek future.
Yes, exactly.
Where we're all working together.
Because we talk about how the pendulum has swung too far. And in some regards, it may have done. But I always think to myself when people will say, oh, you're saying that now, or they're saying that now. If you're saving the feelings of one person, what skin is it? What sweat is it for you to make an effort to say something that has also been deemed politically correct? We were having a discussion the other night about homeless, people experiencing homeless, unhoused, and then somebody, oh, it's exhausting. Is it though? Are you exhausted? Because they sure friggin' are.
Wow. First of all, can I just say, impressed that you said friggin'.
Yeah, I'm not good in that department. And I swear to God, just as the F came out, I went, recorded, podcast. Yeah. No, I don't say it when I phone in the premiere.
Oh, no, that's true. Yeah.
I want to. I say it to him. He actually says when he's out of town, I'll say, I miss you so much. And he'll say, I miss you yelling at the paper. So, yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that we talk about that not only in improv, what are you comfortable with? Where are you comfortable touch, but also, some of the acting classes. On the acting classes I just took, a lot of that was a big conversation that we were having before any scene. Where are you comfortable and whatnot? And I think that's something that I never knew because I'm so new into this industry. I never knew the world prior to that. But hearing the stories of people, yeah. Those are my acting teachers over there. Yeah. Hearing stories of the world prior to what's now been changing. And I agree, right? You hear all the time. It's funny, my dad and I were just talking about that. The pendulum is way over here. It takes a generation or two to swing the pendulum back, but then it'll take another generation or two to bring it to a happy medium, ? I don't know. Yeah. But it's exciting to see the change that's happening. But we always talk about, the intention behind people's words. Well, I didn't intend to do that. That's great, but intention also needs to come with action as opposed to turning it into prejudice, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
And sometimes people don't genuinely understand, but my thing is ask questions. Ask about it. That's how you find out. And if you're uncomfortable, especially if it's a trans situation, ask if you can ask. I mean, our daughter always says, ask me. Mm-hmm. Ask me. Mm-hmm. But not everyone wants that, so ask if you can ask. I guess I just don't understand why these things are so hard, because they're always things that involve inclusion. So, big old question mark there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big old, literally that one. Yeah.
Do you have, as we're wrapping things up here, any final words of wisdom or advice? A lot of people in this audience, and I can see them with their beautiful buttons on, were guests on my show who are second act actors, people who chose to change careers into acting or simultaneously pursue acting. Do you have any words of wisdom or advice to wrap things up?
I would say always listen to yourself, but don't always take your advice. There's always, there's that thing where, you say, I don't know if I do this or this, and someone will say, well, flip a coin, and you immediately know what you want that to be, what you want the answer to be. So just do it. Thinking too much has ruined the world. It really has. And of course, just spontaneous action also is not a great thing. But a happy medium. Do what you love doing, because that's going to be your life. Why get stuck in something where you dread going to, where you're not enjoying the people you're working with? Change it. There's no rule that says you have to stay with the same thing forever. You can change. You can change whenever you want.
The most interesting people often do.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself, because we all worry about what people think. And you know what? They're not thinking about us. They're not. And you think, what are they going to think? They're focused on their own negative voices. So go for it and true. I mean, take chances. Just take chances with everything you do. That's what we're trying to do.
Deb's 97.
Next week.
And she's... No, I always
love that joke.
I know you do.
Tells it.
That's... And yet
Because
I always
I'm
do
so
it.
afraid that someone's going to go, wow, she looks good. And it'll be, what the... 97.
No.
I said to him, people might go, wow, pretty good.
Well, it's just because I think it's
don't wanna hear that.
unthinkable that anyone would think
Is it,
that...
though? What I'm
No, are
saying
you
is,
kidding? In this
don't-
light, you look great.
You don't know what the idiots are thinking.
Oh, well, that would have to be like an incredible idiot who would think
Let's
you're
get off
97.
this.
All right, we'll talk about this at home.
The only things we ever fight about are fake things. The most consistent fight we've had through our lives is, I don't believe the boys on Friends should have taken the girls' apartment. That was
They made a bet.
Monica's
They made a bet.
grandmother, and I don't think real friends do that. So that is our biggest
And
argument.
Let
and
me
that's
just say
why-
again, Friends was up against Whose Line Is It Anyway? So who was
Hang's head
watching?
in shame.
Yeah. No. Again, as you know, I love you a lot, and I
As
always
do I.
say
You-
Deb is the youngest person I know because she is. She never gets stuck in any ideas. She's always checking out new things, except for the story on Instagram.
I just don't get it.
But
What's the difference?
to be with someone like that, it just kind of leaks into your life. So I also advise you find someone like this to put in your life.
You're very nice. I'll give one other piece of advice, and it's something I do in my life that, they say there's no unselfish act. And in my first year in philosophy, I argued with my teacher. Argued. No, but you do that. I wasn't thinking of me. How did it make you feel? Good. Well, then it wasn't an unselfish act. But here's what I do, and I love it. Because it changes. I walk up to people, particularly women, who I think look great, and I tell them. That is one of the happiest things I do in my life. Strangers and say, you look great in that color. You look beautiful. Or I just walk by and just go, come on. And people will go, thank you. Oh my God, that made your day. And I started doing it years ago, genuinely, because I went, I got to tell that woman she looks great. And now I've kind of gone a little kooky with it. But I'm telling you, tell people they're great. Tell your friends something you love about them. I started writing letters to my friends years ago, and one of them that does not like that shit said to me, I don't know if I can ever look you in the face again. But she did. Tell your friends what you think of them, because I promise you they need to hear it. So that's my piece of it.
Deb McGrath and Colin Mochrie, everybody! So just a little token of appreciation here for you. There's also been a donation in both your names made to the Get Real movement as well as a massive thank you for coming today. Thank you so much. All right, the party's going to keep going. We're going to bring back up Al Val Comedy.
One more time for Deb and Colin. But also, I'm stopping you before you go off stage. Let's have a round of applause for Janet. We are so proud of her. We love her so much. How wicked was that? I'll be honest, I don't know what inspired me to go, kiss me on the cheek, me. I'm just so full of love. This was so nice, wasn't it? Wasn't it heartwarming? I was so inspired by, like, there's such supportive trans parents, and it does, yeah, it's nice to hear. And I'm one of the lucky ones too. My dad was super supportive of me, And when I came out to him, it actually shocked me how supportive he was. But it shouldn't have been, you know what I mean? Like, the signs were all there that he was going to be an ally from the start. Like, he's a proctologist, you know what I mean? And he's a really good one, too. They call him Ghost Finger. You don't even know he's in there. He's, like, really good. So, that was nice. When I came out to my dad, he surprised me. He was like, yeah, I suspected something was up. I was like, Dad, how could you? I hid every vaguely flamboyant, stereotypically feminine thing about myself. I played sports, Dad. He was like, nah, you played soccer. Oh, did I offend a bunch of British people in the corner? Don't talk about the Queen's sport like that, mate. We support you in your journey and all, but fuck off, piss off. Have a wank. Oh, that was so nice. I love the drive-by compliment thing, too. Like, I'm a big fan of those, too. But I won't lie. The way she was describing it, like, I've always done that my entire life. It's just like, if you see somebody on the street and you see something nice about them, it's just compulsive. I just say it. But I noticed that ever since I transitioned, there is a huge contrast in the way people receive those compliments. I think there is a gender dynamic at play. I am willing to admit it, because when I was a guy and I would be like, hey, you look really cute in that dress, they're like, get off me! What do you want? I'll be like, no, I don't want to fuck you. I swear, I promise. I just like your purse. You know? I do talk about the trans stuff a lot. It's not I do get the occasional criticism lobbied my way. I hear people sort of in the background every once in a while. Somebody it'll get back to me. Somebody will be like, that's all she ever talks about is the trans thing. And at first it used to hurt me, but at the same time, of course it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 2 years into a transition, and so it has informed the way I interact with society, the way society engages with me. It's like a massive socio-political fucking thing right now. I'm in the middle of a global political shitstorm, so of course I'm gonna talk about it. It informs everything right now. Yeah. And I'm 2 years in. So you know what I mean? And like, I figure there are tells that, you know, I'm a clocky trans woman, and I don't mind that. Like, how disappointing would it be to you guys if I went up here and just never addressed it at all? I think that would be shitty. Like, listen, hypothetically, if I was slowly turning into a goat. If I was slowly turning into a goat and I came out here with like tufts of fur growing on my elbows and I had two little nubby horns developing in my head, I had to hold the microphone in my wrists like this because my fingers were congealing into a pair of hooves, and I had the audacity to be like, being a millennial is weird, isn't it? You'd be like, being a goat is weird! The goat is the weird part! For a whole headlining set, if I was just like, people get mad when you tell them you're a vegetarian. You'd be like, stop! Talk about the goat thing! Fuck! So if talking about being trans is hack, then I'm the motherfucking goat, bitch. All right, this has been such an awesome experience. I want to thank you guys for coming out. This was really fun. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yes. That was so inspiring and so lovely. Please stick around. You all have, most of you have pins that say whether you've been a past guest on the show or if you are going to be a future guest. So like, mingle, chat with each other, get to know what the experience was like or will be like. Yeah, like chat, the bar is open. There's plenty of food everywhere. This is sponsored by Craig's Cookies. So yes, help yourselves, don't be shy. Talk to somebody, strike up a conversation, have some food, and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you Alval Comedy for your incredible, incredible Mistresses of Ceremonies work. You are an absolute riot. I'm so glad the universe threw us together in that acting class. I am so unbelievably charmed by you. Thank you, Colin and Deb, for sharing your stories. It was such an honor, true privilege to interview you both. You've been comedy idols of mine for decades. And honestly, I never saw this on my 2023 or bingo card or life bingo card. I will treasure last Friday's interview with you both forever. Thank you. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.